Hi, hello. Welcome to the episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is October the 25th, 2025. Hopefully this episode finds you well, in good spirits and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. Happy Saturday. Hopefully it's been going well for you. My day has been solid so far. I did have a bit of a slower start than I liked. I woke up a bit too early at first, was able to get back to sleep. Then my alarm woke me up to go, get ready for laundry, and I just fell back asleep till 8. And, the laundromat opens at 8. So I was like, okay, well, let's just get up. And then I just couldn't make myself get up. But, these things happen. So I wound up, getting to the laundromat around 9. But we were able to get through the laundry. Okay, wasn't any problems after that. Post laundry, we went to the gym. Gym was solid. It was a lot like yesterday. I cut the filler just for the sake of time since I'm running behind a bit. But overall, solid workout. Had a good pump. Cardio was solid, got a good sweat, so, we'll take it. Let's see. And that's pretty much everything. We're all caught up on what's going on with me. I will say last night I did cave and I turned on the heater. Once it gets below 65, it's hard for me to maintain. Right now I don't have the heater on, but I have the hoodie and the sweatpants. We're doing the best we can. I'm not shivering yet. But yeah, that's a bit of a heat update, I guess you could say. But anyway, let's go ahead and do our startup, and let's get into some news. I will say, whenever it's really rainy or it's really cold, it just makes me not want to be active. I feel like that's probably a common thing. I'm sure I'm not alone in this, but I just want to be just curled up, just trying to get as warm as possible and relaxing. That's all I really want to do. But alas, these chores, they gotta get done. All right, let's get into some news. From Politico. DOD, which is the Department of Defense, accepts anonymous $130 million donation to partially cover troop pay. Defense officials said they accepted an anonymous gift of $130 million from a wealthy donor to help pay military salaries during the government shutdown, but they would not release any additional details about the unusual move. President Donald Trump announced the donation Thursday, saying that a friend offered the money out of a sense of patriotism. As the shutdown grinds on, Defense Department officials have shifted unused research funds to ensure that troops did not miss their mid-month paycheck, but the status of their next direct deposit is uncertain. Now I'm going to segue over to The Guardian, because even though, this was supposed to be an anonymous donor, they didn't want their name out there, it got leaked. So from The Guardian, Trump backer Timothy Mellon identified as donor of $130 million for U.S. troop pay during a government shutdown. A reclusive billionaire, anti-tax crusader, and major financial backer of Donald Trump has been named as the anonymous private donor who gave the $130 million to the government to help pay U.S. troops during the federal shutdown that is now in its fourth week, according to the New York Times. Timothy Mellon, heir to the Gilded Age industrialist and former Treasury Secretary Andrew Mellon, is the secret donor whom Trump described as a friend, great American, and patriot, but refused to name, the Times reported on Saturday, citing two anonymous sources familiar with the arrangement. Now, granted, it's also worth noting that still the donation, which equates to about $100 per service member, appears to be a potential violation of the Anti-Deficiency Act, which prohibits federal agencies from spending funds in advance or in excess of congressional appropriations, and from accepting voluntary services except in the case of emergency, involving the safety of human life or the protection of property. I think there's like a number that you can do it, and it's under that. I don't know it off the top of my head. I think it's in the other article. I don't feel like clicking over. But yeah, so potentially this isn't even legal. But even if it is all on the level and Trump can just force it and would get the approval for it, this isn't anything. Like, it's $100. It's a gesture. It's like, oh, I'm going to put a little bit of money in the tip jar for the troops and supporting the troops, okay? And in these hard times, which it's like, okay, man, it's looking like people aren't even going to be able to get SNAP benefits come like November 1st. But I figured I'd wait till that happens to really get into the grittiest stuff like that. Like, you know, the government is literally choking itself out right now. But yeah, let's make sure these troops get their $100. I love that. I love that. God bless America. I don't know, man. This is more of a funny thing to cover to me. It doesn't really move the needle or change anything. I will say this guy, who I'm going to say is a freak, because to have all of this money and say, well, I'm going to, you know, buy power and influence and put this money on not just a Donald Trump, but an RFK Jr. and other just like Republican fucking flunkies, and saying, hey, this is going to pay off in the long run. You know, this is going to come back in dividends and it's good for America, whatever. It's just wild to live and be like that. But there's so many people, I guess, who have all this fucking money and that's how they choose to spend it. Like, I don't know, man, call me new money, call me a broke bitch. I would just be spending this money having fun and doing cool stuff. And like, I don't know, hopefully finding ways to make my money make more money. That being said, I mean, investing in quote unquote powerful people is a good investment potentially, and does have its own payouts and dividends over time, I imagine, you know? So I don't fucking know. This is just how the rich people move, I guess. But yeah, I mean, I think this is really stupid, because what good is it doing? The government is still, or, you know, troops are still going to run out of money. You know, the paychecks are still going to get fucking, you know, choked up. People who are working in other fields are still furloughed, you know? Like, this is not a good fucking situation, you know? If anything, you should be using your influence to get motherfuckers back to the negotiating table so we can get the government shutdown lifted. But I don't know, man. Whatever. Do your thing. It's your money, right? Let's move on. Let's see, from the BBC. German police seize fake Picassos in multi-million euro forgery raid. Bavarian police have seized millions of euros worth of forged art, claiming to show works by Picasso, Rembrandt, and Kahlo in an operation spanning Germany, Switzerland, and Liechtenstein. Authorities in Bavaria said the main suspect is a 77-year-old German man who, along with 10 accomplices, is facing charges of conspiracy and fraud. Investigators first became suspicious when the septuagenarian, I think I said that correctly, septuagenarian ringleader attempted to sell 2 supposedly original paintings by Picasso on the art market. He then wanted to sell Die Stalmeesters, a famous oil painting by Dutch old master Rembrandt, for 120 million Swiss francs, or 113 million pounds, despite the original hanging in Rijk Museum in Amsterdam. And I heard when I was listening to this on the BBC that the explanation that kind of gets pitched here is like, oh, yeah, see about that. Oh, you didn't know? Like, the one in the museum, that's a fake. That's a fake. What I have here, this is the real fucking deal. This is the real McCoy. Look at this. Look at this painting and tell me it's fake. Like, and you see the details. You see everything. Like, this doesn't seem like it's something out of place. And you go, well, maybe this guy's right, and maybe they are rocking a fake up there. That might be safer, you know? Okay, And your mind starts to wander and go along this line with this guy who's selling you literally the fucking fake. So yeah, I could see how some people could take this walk with this guy and go, okay, yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe you're on something. Maybe this is the real one, and I'm missing a deal of a lifetime if I don't take you up on this. Let's see here. The Bavarian State Criminal Police Office, or BLKA, said the forged Die Stalmeesters, which is sometimes referred to as the Masters of the Clothmakers Guild, was owned by an 84-year-old Swiss woman. She is now being investigated by the Amberg Public Prosecutor's Office, the BLKA, and Swiss authorities after the forged piece was confiscated in Switzerland. At the time, after being examined by an art expert, the police said it was suspected a copy and not a lost masterpiece by Rembrandt van Rijn. I'm going to say it's Rijn. The painting was seized during coordinated series of dawn raids across Germany, Switzerland, and Liechtenstein on Wednesday, October 15th. During the searches, a large number of suspected art forgeries were found and seized, the BLKA said, along with documents, records, mobile phones, storage media, and cloud data. Data. Bavarian police said the main suspect attempted to sell a further 19 counterfeit works, purportedly by world-famous artists, between 400,000 euros and 14 million euros. They included copies of work by Mexican painter Frida Kahlo, as well as Flemish old master Peter Paul Rubens, Italian sculptor Amito Modigliani, and Spain's Joan Miro. He was assisted by a 74-year-old German man who prepared expert reports specifically to confirm the authenticity of the artworks. So once again, that leads credence to your whole fucking, forgery here, saying I got a guy who is literally telling you he's certified that this is the real fucking thing. You got to get this. You got to buy this. The BLKA said that the main suspects, I guess it should say, were arrested on the day of the raids before being conditionally released. The police said that the investigation is in progress. Among other things, all confiscated paintings will be examined in detail by experts and appraisers in coming weeks, police said. So yeah, I thought the story was pretty interesting. It's been a big heist week, and though this isn't a heist by any means, it is a forgery story, and I found that to be pretty interesting. Yeah, I think it's and this had me thinking, right? If I had the money and I was just into art, I wouldn't mind, and this is maybe going to sound crazy, but walk with me here. I maybe wouldn't mind buying a fake. Mainly if I was getting it for a very good deal, of course, right? And it was something that looked like a very, there was a lot of care in it. Like, hey, this is and obviously I would want to know that it's a real fucking, or not real fucking thing, but it was an actual dupe. Like, I'd want you to be on the level with me. I wouldn't want you to sell it to me like this is the real McCoy. But, I think that it definitely takes a lot of fucking talent to recreate something like this, like these paintings, these works of art. So there's something to be said there, but obviously it's a criminal thing to say, hey, no. I'm not doing a recreation. I'm doing the real fucking thing. It doesn't matter how talented it is. It doesn't matter how much skill it takes to not even just skill, but also acquisition to get all of the tools you need to fucking recreate these works of art and recreate the material and all the resources. It's so interesting, so cool. But at the same time, it's yeah, but you're selling this as it's the real thing, and the real thing is in a museum. And nor should it probably be being sold to me. How did you get this? And it's well, I made it. But no, I thought it was a pretty interesting story, so I figured we go ahead and yap about that for today. Now we have a recall that I wanted to get to that we got to sip on. But let's go ahead and do our last break, and we'll close it out. I do like looking at art, but at this point in my life, I don't really feel the need to decorate my home. I've realized I like to try to keep things minimal, and I feel like it would just be a fantasy world where I'm living, where I'm oh yeah, I have plenty of money to buy fancy art pieces. Yes, I get to be cultured now in my shitty apartment. No, that just doesn't seem like me. I don't even have a table in my kitchen. Anyway. I will say this is a nerdy thing that I do enjoy, and I have thought about a little bit more seriously. If I was to get into art, like I don't think I'd get like a Van Gogh or whatever. I wouldn't get any famous art piece is what I'm saying. I would want famous, not famous in that way. I want like famous card art from like games that I've played and enjoyed. I think that would be something that I could see myself like collecting and putting up on a wall and being like, very nice. But I don't know. That's me from another time that really wanted to do stuff like that. Anywho, let's get to this recall. From Eating Well, Coca-Cola just recalled over 70,000 cans of soda due to contamination. There's an active recall on 3 types of Coca-Cola soda, according to the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, or the FDA. This is due to a foreign matter contamination, specifically potential metal fragments. So metal is back on the menus, ladies and gentlemen, my dear listeners. We'll do a quick rundown. I'm not running through like the whole label SKUs or whatever, but the 12 and 35 packs of Coca-Cola Zero, the 24 and 35 packs of just original Coca-Cola, and then the 35 and 12 pack of Sprites, all potentially can have this contamination issue. Now, this has been a recall that supposedly only hits retailers in Texas, but it could expand. So we'll see. There might be an update there. Also, the recall has been classified as a Class 2. So if you fall into the parameters, you're living in Texas, drinking on a fucking Coca-Cola or a crispy Sprite, buyer beware. And there might be metal in there. They have a contact number, 1-888-INFO FDA. You can, obviously hit that one up, or, you guys know, my dear listeners, y'all know the protocol. You either toss that shit, you potentially go back to your retail store that you got it from, say, hey, there might be metal in here, what's to do about that? Can I get a refund? Can I get an exchange? Something like that. You know what I mean? Y'all get yours. I always try to suggest that. But anyway, I'm no expert. Got to say that as well. Anyway, that is the episode. That's all I have for today. If you'd like to help out, support the effort, I do have a Patreon. Patreon.com/AZANews. Become a newsie today. Free ways to hit me up, AZANews1@gmail.com. Feel free to follow me or the podcast on any of the socials. Subscribe to the YouTube. Follow on TikTok. Follow on Spotify. Follow on Apple Podcasts. Wherever you like to listen. Leave a like. Leave a cool comment. Sharing is caring. 5 stars on Spotify, 5 stars on Apple is always appreciated. Even if you don't do any of those things, though, I appreciate you just hanging out and listening to me yap. But yeah, thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for being a friend. And hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.